I don't have much to say right now. Back.
911, what's the emergency?
I think someone's dead. My passenger just came out of the top. It's really hard.
Wife? Do we know what happened to her?
No, we don't.
Do you believe that Joanna died by suicide?
I know that she did not.
What did he do to her?
He didn't take her down. He didn't try CPR. That's troubling.
The question is, how many of those factors exist? If all 10 of them exist, those cases are always a homicide. Always.
There absolutely was a proper investigation. I think it's a captivating story, but at this point, it is a story. There is no evidence to support that.
They missed the evidence. That is the murder weapon. What a mistake.
But you know, Joanna's story is not really unfolding only in Sacramento.
Experts say there could be as many as 1,200 hidden homicides.
I didn't realize that this was a huge issue.
You just watched the trailer for an investigative series produced by our sister station up in Sacramento. It starts with a push for answers into one death, Joanna Hunter's death, that revealed a much bigger problem. Homicides staged to look like suicides. Here now more to talk about this and the findings from her 2-year investigation is investigative journalist Andie Judson. Andie, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, Marcella, thanks so much for having me. We're thrilled to be here.
All right, your investigation is called Hidden Homicides. And for viewers who may not be familiar with this term, what is a hidden homicide exactly, and how big is this problem in the country and specifically here in California?
Yeah, so basically hidden homicides are just what they sound like. They are suicides that are actually staged to look like they're homicides that are staged to look like suicides. So a lot of times someone dies by suicide. The families might have a lot of questions, and now leading experts in the state and in the country also are standing by a number of these families saying that, hey, this actually wasn't a suicide, it was a homicide, and that there's a number of factors that lead into these types of cases specifically.
In your investigative series, you focus on the death of Joanna Hunter. Investigators in Solano County have ruled it a suicide. Her family, though, and many other experts believe that she was murdered. What was so unusual about Joanna's death in particular?
Yeah, so experts who study these types of cases say there are 10 warning signs, 10 red flags specifically, that make these cases seem like they could be a hidden homicide. So Joanna's case fit all 10 of those factors. A couple of them, just to name a few, are that the person who found her is the family who believes that he killed her, and it was actually her husband, a well-known pastor in our area. Other cases, other factors include that he had complete control of the death scene before law enforcement arrived. He also didn't cut her down when he found her, and he wasn't the one to call 911. So that leaves our experts who reviewed her case with a lot of questions.
Joanna's younger brother, we showed him, Joe, you interviewed him, says that he knows Joanna was murdered. And Joe may be familiar to many of our CBS 8 viewers because he was on the last season of Survivor, big fan favorite. He finished 3rd. And there was an episode where Joe talked about his sister's death, very emotional. I remember him sharing that Joanna was a victim of domestic violence and he wished that he could have protected her. What did Joe share about you with the physical abuse she suffered from her husband, the pastor you were talking about?
Yeah, and we so appreciate Joe taking the time to talk with us, especially about something as hard to talk about as a loved one who's not only dealt with domestic violence, but also had a death of that loved one. And so, you know, he shared a lot of concerning factors, including domestic violence, like you named. But one of the main concerns is strangulation in these types of cases. And that actually leads experts, and Joe himself said, that leads to a 750% more likely chance that someone who's been strangled in a domestic violence situation will be killed, and then it could be staged to look like a suicide. So Joe shared a lot of those inside details with us, and you can watch them all and his reaction, which he talked about on the show Survivor, but we bring a lot more light to Joanna's case.
She did have, yes, documented reports of strangulation attempt earlier with that same husband. And I did watch your entire investigative series, and I know that your reporting and your digging helped get some justice for the family in a brand new state law here in California called Joanna's Law. Tell us about that new law.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we're actually coming from you from the California Capitol here, because our reporting and Joanna's family and other families of loved ones who've died in these types of cases came forward to legislators saying there needs to be more regulation in these types of investigations. So Joanna Law was passed. It went into effect January 1st this year, and it makes law enforcement have more thorough investigations. So if they go into a case that looks like a suicide, they have to look a little more into it, especially because suicides have a lot of stigma. So they want to make sure that this isn't a staged suicide and this isn't a homicide. So they'll be doing more in-depth investigations going forward. And it also gives more transparency to families because they get to be the next of kin and get more details on deaths and cases like these.
That was surprising to me that family's not considered next of kin. It's only the spouse. I do want to point out a San Diego connection. The Alliance for Hope, a local nonprofit based here in San Diego, helped push that law through. How important was their work in your investigation and the help to change state law?
Absolutely. Yeah, Marcella, if you watched our investigation, which I know you did, you'll see that they are an expert voice. They're the leading expert in the nation and the world in these types of cases, and they're bringing light to these types of cases across the country. They are based right there in San Diego, but they're working on cases all over. California is the first state to pass this type of law with their support and with their effort going forward. And now they're trying to also pass laws in Oregon and Illinois. So California is really setting the way, and the Alliance for Hope is really setting the way in these types of cases, bringing them to light as well as new laws.
And Andie, here in San Diego County, we actually stood out in that the medical examiner's office here has actually reclassified 12 suicides as either accidental deaths or undetermined now. So what does that reclassification mean for families? How widespread is this problem, and what do you see as next steps in this law actually helping families and helping investigators know that there needs to be a longer investigation and that apparent suicides can't just be closed up in 30 minutes?
Yeah, experts say there could be thousands of hidden homicide cases across the country, hundreds across California. The reason we don't exactly know that number is because the coroner often isn't keeping track of if these deaths are changed. So San Diego, we filed public records requests across the state of California. San Diego was the only one to get back to us with a number of how many cases have been changed. So for families, that really is the start of answering a lot of these questions that they're left with in these types of cases and these types of deaths of loved ones. And so it's such an important factor in setting the precedent for the rest of California and therefore the nation as well.
Andie, thank you so much for your excellent reporting, part of a 2-year investigation. I watched it, it's riveting. I encourage our viewers to watch it as well, and we're going to share information on how to do that in just a moment. But for now, I'll let you go. Andie Judson, thank you so much for joining us today. As part of Joanna's law enforcement agencies statewide are now required to undergo new training on how to spot potential hidden homicides. We reached out to the San Diego County Sheriff's Office to see if they have implemented training, and in a statement, a spokesperson said the state has not issued the training materials just yet, but the department will once it does so. San Diego Police did not respond to our request. And you can watch Hidden Homicides Fighting for Answers tonight at 7:30 on our free streaming channel, CBS 8+, or you can watch it anytime on your time. CBS 8+, download on your TV and watch for free.